Imagine, if you will, a stormy autumn night. The wind rattles the shutters, the rain drums steadily against the window panes, and the fire before us burns with a restless energy, each log snapping like a conspirator, eager to add a whisper to our conversation. It is on such nights, my dear young master, that stories of shadow and superstition find their most willing audience. Tonight, allow me to speak of a legend that haunted the streets of Eastern Europe for decades. A legend whispered in dark alleyways, in schoolyards, and at bus stops where the lamps flickered weakly against the night. The legend of the Black Volga, origins of a phantom. The story begins in the 1960s and 70s during the heavy grey years of the Cold War. Across Poland, the Soviet Union, and neighbouring lands, life was lived under the watchful eyes of party officials, secret police, and a culture of suspicion. Ordinary people had little, and rumours, gossip, and whispered tales became a form of escape or warning. Among these whispers grew a story so chilling that children shuddered at its mention, and adults lowered their voices when speaking of it. The story of a black automobile, a Volga limousine gliding silently down empty streets. Its paint was darker than night, its chrome gleamed like sharpened teeth, and its windows were always tinted so deeply that no one could see who or what lurked within. They said that if the Black Volga pulled up beside you, there was no escape. The doors would open of their own accord. A hand, pale, gloved, sometimes described as clawed, would reach out, and in an instant you would vanish, never to be seen again. A car of power. To understand why the legend took hold, we must first speak of the car itself. The Volga was not an ordinary automobile. It was a product of Soviet engineering, manufactured by GAZ, the Gorkovsky Automobilny Zavod. Unlike the humble Trabant or Polski Fiat that ordinary citizens might drive, the Volga was a car of status, power, and intimidation. The GAZ-21 and later the GAZ-24 were large, heavy, and imposing. They were built not for the common man, but for officials, party members, and those connected to the state apparatus. When a Volga drove through a town in the 60s, people noticed it was not a vehicle one could ignore. Its sheer presence symbolized authority. Thus, when children whispered about a Black Volga prowling the streets at night, it was not simply a car they feared, it was the power behind it. To be taken by the Volga was to be taken by forces beyond comprehension, whether supernatural or political. Whispers of evil. The stories varied from region to region, but certain elements were always the same. A jet-black Volga, often with white curtains drawn across the rear windows, an appearance near schools, playgrounds, or quiet alleys. A driver unseen, or described as a tall man in black, a priest of unholy rites, or even a figure with horns barely hidden beneath his hat. Some versions claimed that the Black Volga abducted children specifically. They were said to be taken for blood, which would then be used in the treatment of wealthy Westerners or party elites. Others spoke of satanic cults. cults of blood-drinking aristocrats or of KGB experiments gone wrong. In the most chilling accounts, it was not men, but the devil himself who sat behind the wheel. In these stories, the car bore strange signs, inverted crosses on the plates, numbers like 666 or 6666, repeating endlessly. If the Volga stopped near you and the driver offered you a ride, the only hope of survival was to shout aloud, "It is God who commands you, be gone," and then run as fast as your legs could carry you. The children disappear. One of the strongest roots of the legend was the recurring theme of missing children. Across Eastern Europe, rumors abounded that children had been snatched from the streets, never to return. While documented cases of such abductions are rare, fear has a way of magnifying every tragedy. A child lost to illness, a runaway, or a crime. Each became woven into the tapestry of the Black Volga. Parents warned their little ones not to linger after dark, not to stray far from home, and above all, never to accept sweets, toys, or promises from strangers in fine cars. In this way, the story of the Black Volga served a grim but practical purpose, a fable to frighten children into obedience, much as the brothers Grimm once did with their wolves and witches. The political interpretation. But behind the supernatural veil lies a second, more political layer of meaning. In the world of communist Poland and the USSR, the Black Volga was a very real symbol of authority. It was used by the secret police, the KGB, and the party elite. When a Volga stopped outside one's home, it often meant trouble. Questioning, arrest, or a disappearance into the labyrinth of the state. Thus, the legend may have grown not merely from folklore, but from reality itself. The car truly did appear at night, and those it visited sometimes truly did vanish, not into hellfire, but into prison cells, interrogation rooms, or worse. It is here, perhaps, that the line between fact and myth blurs most intriguingly. Was the Black Volga a phantom of superstition, or a veiled metaphor for a system that devoured its own citizens? Strange testimonies. Over the decades, countless stories have surfaced of those who claimed to have seen the Black Volga. In Warsaw, it was said that a Volga appeared outside schools, its driver waiting silently, engine purring as if counting the children. In Kiev, tales spread of a Volga that moved without sound, gliding as though carried by unseen wheels, vanishing when followed. In rural Poland, farmers told of headlights that appeared on lonely roads, blindingly bright, before the car itself dissolved into the night like smoke. One man claimed that when the Volga stopped before him, he saw no driver at all, only a shadowy figure seated in the back, whose eyes glowed red through the tinted glass. Another swore that a Volga pursued him across a bridge. But when he turned to confront it, the bridge was empty. Each tale, whether born of fear, imagination, or truth, added another layer to the myth, the devil's bargain, Of all the variations, perhaps the most sinister are those that claim the car was driven by emissaries of the devil. The legend tells that wealthy men desperate for power, influence, or eternal youth would sell their souls. Their payment? To drive the Black Volga, to collect the innocent, to deliver them into darkness. The victims were never seen again. Some said they were drained of blood, their lifeless bodies discarded in unmarked graves. Others insisted they were taken not for death but for transformation, changed into servants of the night, soulless husks, bound forever to the car's dark engine. And always there was the same warning. When the Black Volga slowed beside you, you must never ever look inside. To meet the gaze of its passenger was to lose yourself, body, soul, and shadow, facts amid the folklore. Historians and folklorists have attempted to dissect the legend. They note that during the 1960s and 70s, black limousines were indeed symbols of authority. They were often driven by KGB agents, party officials, or businessmen with connections to the regime. Children, hearing stories of men taken away by night, naturally wove the supernatural into what they saw. The lack of freedom, the climate of fear, and the mysterious aura surrounding state power all gave rise to an enduring myth. And yet, even with rational explanation, the mystery remains. Why did so many people across so many countries tell the same story? Why did the same descriptions echo from Poland to Russia, from Hungary to Ukraine? Were they all inventing the same phantom together? Or was there truly something that prowled those streets, something more than metal and oil? The legend lives on. Today, the Soviet Union is gone. The Volga itself is a relic of another age, and yet the story endures. Even now, on internet forums and in late-night radio broadcasts, people whisper of sightings. Some claim that in small towns, when the mist is heavy and the street lights dim, a Black Volga can still be seen idling at the corner, waiting. In horror films, novels, and urban folklore, the Black Volga has become a symbol of dread, as much a part of Eastern European myth as vampires or forest spirits. It is not merely a car, but a vessel of fear, a reminder of a time when power was hidden, shadows were long, and the night belonged not to the people, but to something far darker. By the firelight. And so, young master, as the fire burns low and the storm continues its vigil outside, we come to the heart of the tale. Was the Black Volga a devil's chariot driven by demons to snatch away the innocent? Was it the instrument of a secret police force, its power disguised by rumor and superstition? Or was it simply a story, a whisper born of fear, carried from mouth to mouth until it grew into a legend? Perhaps the truth is a little of each, for in every good legend lies a kernel of fact, and in every fact lies the shadow of myth. But should you, on some lonely road, hear the hum of an engine behind you and see the gleam of black paint and chrome in the corner of your eye, perhaps you will remember this story, and perhaps if the car slows and the window lowers, you will whisper a prayer and walk swiftly into the safety of the light. For one never truly knows if the Black Volga has been consigned to history, or if it still waits patient and silent in the darkest corners of the night.